So welcome to my games of 2020. An interesting year as a whole, and a very interesting year for video games. And I'm just going to talk about some personal picks that I thought, to me, are my games of the year. They're games that I finished. They're games that I enjoyed quite a lot. What are some games that are the game of the year for you? Let me know down below so other people can figure out some other ideas of video games to play. That is for sure. It starts off crazy with what a year, man. What a year. And let me say this, it was a crazy year. It was saved by one game. In the beginning, one game saved the world. It's true. And that was Animal Crossing. Because we were all at home, we all had to work from home, and that game came out in a time when we really needed it emotionally. And I remember for me and my wife, it was that fun, happy game that we really needed at a stressful time, right? For all of you out there. And for all of you out there that played it, it kind of relieved some of the stress of the year. And what a game Animal Crossing is. My wife played, I think, about 150 hours, which seems like a lot, right? Nope. My friends, when I look at my friends list, they're at 500 to 600 hours into that game. And so that kind of shows you the amount of time you can put into the game and what you can get out of it. And definitely a game of the year. Next up, I have to mention this one. A lot of us out there have played Persona 5. A lot of us have done that. But Persona 5 Royal came out this year with brand new characters and brand new quests and brand new social links, brand new things to do in the game. So if you haven't played Persona 5, and I know there's some of you out there that haven't, this is the definitive way to do it. And I'm saying to you right now, jump on in to one of the best RPGs of this generation. It really is. I'm looking forward to possibly Persona 6 in the future, but Persona 5 Royal is where it's at. Now I'm just gonna jump in here with a PS5 game, Demon's Souls. What a game. What a launch game. And it's a remake of the original, but my God, what a remake. And it really shows what the PS5 can do with graphics going forward. And we're only scratching the surface here. And that's what's amazing. This is, again, the definitive way to play this game. You will die a lot. It will challenge you a lot, but everything that you overcome will make you stronger. And that's where this game completely shines. And what a wonderful world, gothic world, to jump into, to fight skeletons and creatures and monsters and dragons. This is the game to get. And going from a game like Demon's Souls with that kind of graphic fidelity to my other favorite of the year, Streets of Rage 4 by .emu and Lizard Cube. I never thought in my lifetime there would ever be a Streets of Rage 4. There's been so many rumors over the years, and I was like, I don't know, man. And then I saw the trailer, and I was like, you know, I think they can pull this off. It's a different graphical look. It's not the sprites. It's all hand-drawn graphics. But they knocked it out of the park. They did a really great side view beat 'em up that does this series justice. And it also does the series justice with the incredible music by Yuzo Koshiro and everybody else. But I gotta mention him first because his tracks are some of the best in the entire game. And I had a lot of fun unlocking all the characters, going through the game. It reminds me of the past. It reminds me of me growing up in the 90s all over again in the year 2020. Now, I love this game. I gave it a 10 out of 10 in my 10 out of 10 games. And that is Xenoblade Chronicles, the definitive edition. Not only have I loved it, my wife is still playing it in the other room now. And she's taken a long time. She's taken all of her time. She's doing every quest and every single thing that she can do in the game. And she's getting frustrated because she's getting close to the end and she's like, I don't want this game to end, right? Because there's a massive world to explore here. There's a lot of fighting monsters, yes, but it's very kinetic. It's very easy to get into. The questing is really simple in this version of the game. And it is the best version of this game that exists on the Nintendo Switch. High recommendation. If you're into RPGs, jump into this one. And another game that came out in the beginning of the year, Trials of Mana. This is a remake, reimagining of Seiken Densetsu 3. And I was so thrilled, as I said before, that I finished the original game and then I got to play this brand new version of it. And it's so strange to play a game that was overhead 2D brought into a 3D world and they knocked it out of the park. I absolutely loved this game. It's a bit old school in its gameplay mechanics, but that's why I liked it. So from that viewpoint, it works for me. The graphics are really beautiful. It's so neat to see bosses that were in the originals brought into the new version. It was just a nice, fun, different kind of action RPG to get that I honestly thought the series was long forgotten. So to get a remake of it was a bit of a shock, and they did it some justice. And another remake, not reimagining, but a complete built up from the ground remake, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2. I'm a skateboarder out of the late 80s, and into the 90s. So for me, when the original Tony Hawk came out about 20 years ago, it was the best skateboarding game that ever existed. And so this right now, the 1 and 2 remake, is the best skateboarding game I have ever played. I absolutely adored this game. I totally went in and started unlocking every single thing, all the skate parks, trying to collect all the icons and everything I could, just like the original. And having the graphics look the way they do now on 4K on your TV, wow, what a way to play, and what a great way again to honor an original game. And that's what this does extremely well. The gameplay is tight, just like the original, and it plays beautifully. Now, for me, being a big fan of Resident Evil, I love this series. I always have. The weakest link has always been a bit Resident Evil 3 for me. It has, because it was so short. It was back in the day, and it is with this brand new version of this game, the brand new updated version. But I'll say this much. I love Resident Evil 3. It is a shorter game, and I wish there was a little bit more to it, for sure. But I love what is there, the graphics, the fidelity there, the gameplay, the scare factor, always being on the run in this game. You're always on the run, and I like the environments. I like that we're still in Raccoon City. It always felt like Resident Evil 2.5 for me, right? Because it wasn't that big of a jump. But what is there is fun, and I'm so happy to have it a part of the Resident Evil 4 collection. So I have all of the Resident Evils there, except for Code Veronica. Now, I'm going to mention this game as well, even though it is an 8-year-old game in Japan, because it was brand new coming into this country, and it was free. And that's the selling point right there. And that is for Phantasy Star Online 2. I absolutely love this game, being a big fan of the original, being able to play with my friends for free on the Xbox. I loved it, and it felt really great to play Phantasy Star Online again. And it also gets me excited for new Genesis that is coming out next year, that we get to jump into a brand new expansion, brand new game, adding on to Phantasy Star Online 2, that will be free as well. So I'm sold with that, and I can't wait to jump into that in 2021. Okay, my next game of the year. Is it a game of the year? For a lot of people, it won't be. For me, it is. And I even reviewed it and said it's a very average game. And that is Ys Celceta. But for me, it's an Ys game. And I was really happy to play the game. And I really had a good amount of fun. It's an action RPG from quite a few years ago. And this is the first time it's been brought on PS4. And it was the first time I got to really experience it this way. And I loved it. I finished it. I went all the way through it. And I had a good amount of fun. So if you're looking for like a fun, very kind of semi-average Ys game, this is the one to get. And I gotta mention it because it's an Ys game. I always want to pump the Ys series up. I do think you'll have a lot of fun with it though. Now, I was very sick this year, and after I got sick, I asked one of my friends, hey, is there any games that I've missed? Is there anything that's really been going on that's kind of interesting? And he said 2 words, Panzer Paladin. And I'm like, what? And so I downloaded it on the Nintendo Switch, and it's a side view action game, kind of like from the NES, Super NES era. And it's great. It reminds me of Blaster Master, where you're walking around in a mech suit, you can jump out and explore the world. It's very much like Blaster Master, but I really enjoyed the graphics. I had a lot of fun, kind of reminiscent of those old school days, but with a brand new, kind of really exciting soundtrack that keeps it going. And the soundtrack is one of the highlights of that game. And I have to add this into one of my games of the year because I had a lot of fun with this one. Yakuza, Like a Dragon. This is a very interesting game in the series because it's right up my alley. It was no longer just a beat 'em up. It was an RPG beat 'em up where you're taking turns doing your combat. And I really like that. But the one thing that I really liked was the storyline and the characters. You're really brought into this world. And it's not about, black and white, good and evil. You get to see a lot of the gray. In fact, that's where you are in this game. And I love the combat, I love the humor, I love the entertainingness of it. There's a lot to see, there's a lot to do, a lot to explore. High recommendation. And we're down to the end here, and this game, I have to say, is art. It really is, at its finest. And that is Ghost of Tsushima. This game blew me away, straight out of a Kurosawa movie. There's even a black and white mode in there to kind of get that feeling from those old movies. Wow. This game, playing it, was an open world samurai action game, the likes of which I've never seen. It's the best samurai action game that's ever been released. Never mind the gorgeous graphics. I loved how in certain scenes it's all red, and then also we go into all yellow and orange. I loved the differentials of the color usage in this game. Never mind the brutalness of cutting your opponents down and slicing off their arms and having those standoffs. This game was remarkable. Never mind the following the wind to find out where you're supposed to go next. This is, without a doubt, game of the year. It's one of the games of the year. It's high up there, that is for sure. Now, my next game, and it's not the game of the year, we're gonna get there, is The Last of Us Part 2. And I know, the big controversial game of the year. I see that, I got that, but what I got from it was brutalness. This game took me through an emotional roller coaster that was unexpected, and it floored me. I was floored at the end of this game, and I really loved shooting people in the head with arrows, and I loved the screaming, I loved all of that stuff. But anyways, my game of the year is this one. A game that I played in my early 20s, a game that really, really meant something to me, especially after my father died. It's a game that I didn't ever think would come. A game that got a remake that I never thought we'd see. And that is the Final Fantasy VII Remake. At the beginning of the year, I played this game, and I had a small tear playing it because I loved the original so very much. And obviously, it's only the first part of this game. How many more is there going to be? We're all unsure at this point. But to be able to see Cloud and the rest of the gang running around in full 3D in a flushed out world that's even more than the original in a lot of ways, to see yourself doing the same things you did in the original, but adding brand new things and brand new characters in there, it's remarkable. To see Midgar that way in 3D, I was in love with this game. And just to see some of the cinematics that happened at just certain times, and just the character interactions made it something else. And I've often said this, if you don't like the remake, you always have the original game. It's not going to ruin the original game because it's almost in its own alternate timeline. And that's all I'll say about that. And I thought that was a fascinating spin on it. And so I love the original for what it is. I love the remake for what it is. And I'm also a big RPG guy. So I really loved exploring the world of Midgar and that entire area, and then off into the Shinra buildings. Great stuff, wonderful stuff. I don't know how long we'll have to wait for the next games in the series. It's going to be a long time, I'm sure, but I'm sure it will be worth the wait. We'll be playing on PS5, I'm sure, by then. So guys, what are some of your favorite games of the year? Let me know down below. So anyways, guys, until next time.